Broken Kayfabe, the unofficial after show of Breaking Kayfabe with Baldrin and Barry. But, we might be the official podcast of the Brothership, the Facebook group. I am so happy to be talking to my homeboy from California, San Jose, Ariel. Hello, hello.
Hello, Frankie. How are you?
I never call anybody my homeboy, but I don't know where that came from, but it came out.
That's fine. You can call me whatever. You can call me Ray, or you can Jim Cornette, man.
Oh, is that a Jim Cornette line?
No, well, I mean, it's from I forgot where it's from, but Jim Cornette usually uses that joke a lot.
I haven't heard it. I don't listen to Jim. Too much yelling. When I listen to Jim Cornette, I feel like my father's yelling at me all over again. So, Ariel, today is Wednesday. This is not June. This is February the 3rd. How's your February going?
It just started. It's going.
That's good. That's good. Just got home. Our jet skis were at a friend's house on a floating dock. And while we were going to Wilmington, there was a microburst, and somehow the jet skis got submerged. One of them did. So it looks like one might be a total loss, and the other one might be a save, but we're going to get rid of them anyway because we never ride them.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
How often do you jet ski anyway?
Hardly ever, because they are at my friend's house, and that's about 25 minutes away, and on a floating dock. So we're not actually on the water. Yes. So we've taken them out a few times since I've been here, but because they're at a friend's house, it's a little bit of a hassle. We not very much. Probably 5 times we've been out, and we had a good time with it, but it's just not something that we do much anymore.
I see. I've never been on a jet ski before. I can't swim. So
it's so you don't need to know how to swim. You just got to have your life jacket on.
That's
but they are a lot of fun, but they are kind of dangerous. I mean, there was someone that was killed near here last year. Hit a boat, and there's a lot of boating traffic.
Right. That sucks.
I'm sorry, one more. Sorry, Max is being super whiny. Lay down, buddy. Come on. Or lay down right over here. And I left the bedroom door open because we've got the windows open. As soon as I got home, the queen asked me to open up the windows. And so that's what was taking me a little while. And if the bedroom door's open, he wants to go lay on the bed.
Okay.
But we're out in what we call the sitting area, which is just off of the kitchen. So he's not going to go lay on the bed. Well, what's been going on with you?
Work, like the last episode. Nothing changed, really. Just a lot of work for me and my company. Come home, try to relax, try to sleep as soon as I can. Usually it doesn't happen until around lunchtime here. Wake up, go to work. That's all I do. That's all I've been doing lately, these past couple of weeks. How about you?
Man, I love that.
I don't.
You don't?
No, I mean, I do. I just, after a while, I don't want to do too much overtime. It gets in the way of me trying to relax. Plus, I don't know. It's just, I get tired of, it depends, actually. If it's not as stressful as it is right now, then I'm fine. But there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, a lot of changes that are like last second with the engineers and the technicians and myself, and then this and that needs to be tested here, blah blah blah. So the beginning of the shift is always the most stressful time for me, and there are times that I just wanted to just punch something or throw something, but it's been like that for the past couple of weeks, and it's really getting irritating. Usually if it just goes smoothly, I'm fine with it, but it's just, I don't know. It's really annoying right now.
Yeah, I can tell you're kind of stressed. Let's see. we need to do some breathing exercises, maybe.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Some DDP yoga.
No.
No. I don't think that's the kind of relaxing. Have you ever seen the DDP yoga?
Yes, I have. I mean, I haven't done it, but I've seen clips here and there of it. It looks interesting. I mean, but it's not me.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. No. It's not me either. I mean, I'm and actually I did yoga, practice yoga for a little bit, and it wasn't for me either. I probably went 3 times. A friend of mine bought me not bought me. I think it was like maybe he did buy it, but anyway, it was like a month long thing, and I went 3 times, and I just did not like the way the lady spoke. It was really weird. Like, if it pleases you, you may go into the downward dog.
That sounds hot.
It wasn't for me. It was like I was in the military, so I want someone to tell me, all right, now we're doing the downward dog. Get into it. Stretch your back out. Stretch it out. Now relax. Take deep breaths. I want someone like that, not, someone that if it pleases me to do it, then I mean, come on. No, none of this is pleasing to me.
Okay, yeah. That's true. Yeah. The closest thing I've done to yoga is probably buying a yoga mat. I just use it to do like stretches on it or something. Or playing Dalsim from Street Fighter 2. He's actually my favorite character.
The Indian guy that stretches his legs out real long. Yeah.
Yes,
oh my God. That's a throwback.
Yeah. I actually have a couple t-shirts of him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like quirky t-shirts. That's what I kind of collect. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what? It's a good thing that there's one coming to you.
Yes, I am. Actually listened to the first episode of Last Stop. See, I'm forgetting things now. Sorry. Last Stop.
Penn Station.
Penn Station. Yes. Carrie Silkin's podcast, and it was pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah. It's so there's you can skip down and look. The Flair one's really good. I mean that's my go-to now. So I listen to obviously Breaking Kayfabe with Ballinger and Barry, but that's only an hour and a half or whatever. And then the other time I spend listening to Last Stop Penn Station, season 2, episode 7, and I think there's 20 episodes in that season.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Breaking Kayfabe with Ballinger and Barry, in the Facebook group last night, you saw that we announced that I guess the winner of the sponsorship that Jana and I, my beautiful wife, are doing is going to be none other than brother shipper Joe Christie.
Mm-hmm.
And very excited to have Joe come and spend time with us on June the 4th at Lutz, Florida, where Axe and Smash will be the headliners. And I think Barry is going to announce, I saw a post earlier, another person that will be there this year. He's going to announce that later tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time. But we went a little extra with it, and we also announced we're bringing a second person. So, and that other person is none other than Tony Botts.
Yes.
And he is coming from Vegas, I like to call it, Nashville. And so we're really excited to have both of those come and spend some time with us. And that we had a total of 10 people that submitted their information. Well, actually 11, or actually 12. One had been to a CWF Legends Fan Fest before, so he was disqualified. The other one, Drew Samuels, which I mentioned, was able to work some things out, and he says he didn't need any help. So, man, I think that's absolutely awesome that he did that. And we the way things worked out, we were able to help 2 people.
Yeah, I was totally surprised. I woke up. I work nights. Woke up. I was checking social media, and I saw there were 2 winners. And I'm like, what the heck? Really? Wow, that's pretty awesome. So congratulations on both Joe and Tony. I didn't know that you were going to do another winner. That's so awesome. So awesome of you, Frankie and Jana. So, I hope they have a great time. I mean, wow, that's very generous of both of you. You said 12, right? 12 applicants?
Yes, yeah. But really, out of the people that we had to pick from, it was 10. So, but I do want to say this. If you didn't, and it was hard. I mean, when you realize you have to tell 10 people no, but 2 people yes. So actually, it was 8 that we had to tell no. But I mean that was tough for me because I'd like to say yes to everybody. So I do want to tell those people that if you listen to this podcast to next year, be sure to try again. You might be picked.
Oh, okay. So you're doing this next year also?
I hope so. It sort of depends on how this one goes, but that's our intention. And this next one will probably figure a way for someone to where everyone can contribute.
Yeah.
So, I've said it before, so I won't go long on it. But I just think that it makes me feel a lot better to be able to give and help people out, and I know that other people will too. So even if you're one of those folks that you can't afford to go, you could still get $5 and help someone else get there.
Yeah, or you could give $5 to join the Patreon of Breaking Kayfabe.
That's true. That's a month. So, and I've enjoyed the content that we've had there. And
yes, I have to.
And I think the patrons get to ask questions to the folks that they have on. So I've had my question asked, and I'm not real good with those things, and actually my feelings wouldn't be hurt if they never asked me to ask another question because my questions are always dumb, and I don't remember wrestling, I don't remember events. I mean, it's like it was sort of an afterthought.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I'm not very good at memorizing like events and dates and who wrestled who where. I barely remember names nowadays. I'm getting really old. But yeah, that's why when I get asked to ask a question about so and so, I'm like, no, I really don't have a question. It's because I'm afraid that I'm going to also ask a stupid question or a question that has been answered before that I wasn't aware about because I don't listen to every podcast or read every article this person has done, and that question probably was asked over there and answered already. So I'm always like kind of shy from having to ask questions of for other people.
Hey everyone, it's Frankie, and so Ariel and I had done a segment where we were talking about the Darwin Awards and where people had died doing dumb things, and afterwards I sort of was reflecting on it, and to me it came across as if we were making fun of people dying, and that was not our intent. We weren't making fun of the people dying. It was just stories of people dying, doing dumb things. So I edited that part out, and we're going to pick back up where I ask Ariel if he's ever done the extreme things like hang gliding or bungee jumping and whatnot. Sorry I had to cut out those few minutes there, but here is me and Ariel talk about what Ariel has done crazy in his life. So have you ever done anything like that? I mean, paragliding, parachuting, bungee jumping?
No, I don't like to die or risk dying. No, actually, I'm not that much of a daredevil. I like to stay on the ground and away from water. Like I said, I can't swim or places of danger. I had a friend back in the day when I was growing up. He would do all sorts of things like jump off the roof of the house and do all sorts of crazy things. And, he would break his arm or leg or something. And that never appealed to me. I learned from him. I was that friend that like, no, don't do it. And he's like, shut up, I'm gonna do it. And then he would do it. And I'm like, no. So, yeah, I'm gonna tell mom. I'm gonna tell your mom. Blah blah blah. And he's like, no, shut up, bitch. Yeah. So I was never that kind of kid that wanted to do those crazy things because I already had a friend that did that, and I saw it firsthand. And I'm not. No. How about you?
No. I mean, in my younger days, no. I mean, I was the kind that would do something outrageous. But what about near-death experiences? You ever had one of those?
No,
like where you almost died?
No. I could get dramatic about things and say that I almost died. But other than that, no.
Yeah, we'll save that story for another time then. And All right, Aaron. Speaking of dangerous things, let's get an interview that I had with Chris Spiker earlier in the week. Good. So, what are we talking about here today, Chris Spiker?
Well, first off, I just want to say thanks for having me on. I know I got some big shoes to follow up upon with your previous guest. So, you had suggested the topic of werewolves and ramen, which automatically in my head went to Warren Zevon singing Werewolves and Ramen as opposed to Werewolves of London.
Werewolves of Ramen.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, doesn't quite have the same ring, but it'd be more entertaining song.
Yeah. Now. Yeah, it would. It could be a Weird Al. If Weird Al had been making music when that song came out, it could have been one of his. It would make a great video. Are you a fan of the ramen?
Yes, actually. It's been a long time since I've had ramen, but yeah, it was a favorite during my bachelor years, let's just say. So,
I think we can all understand. So.
I like to get the big bowls that have the multiple packets that you got to put in. I feel like those are, I don't want to just say fancier, but, I feel like they are more flavorful, and they seem like they have these, dehydrated, vegetables in there. Sometimes you'll see a couple pieces of corn or something, but I do enjoy those. And, I make mine with a couple of pieces of cheese. And I like it a little spicy. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely so. I mean, I remember as far as like the ramen packets go, one of my favorite memories of that was growing up. My stepfather, who's from Louisiana, and they know cooking down there. He would throw everything in a big pot together, and the unifying theme would be the ramen. Like he'd have like leftovers in the fridge. Oh, here, let's throw ramen in and throw it all together, and he would create one hell of like a casserole. And it would always have some sort of ramen, like the flavoring, like the shrimp or the chicken or something like that. And that would be like the tying together theme.
Wow, that's pretty creative.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that taught me how to. I caught a lot of cooking lessons from him. So as far as like jambalaya and all this other stuff, he's a pretty good cook. So,
did you live in Louisiana?
So my stepfather lived in Louisiana. My mother, my stepfather, my two younger siblings live down there. They've lived down there now for about 15 years. I've been down many a times to go visit them. I'm actually planning another trip maybe here in March to go see them again. So
about what
such
part?
A different if you're familiar with Lake Charles, they're about 45 minutes outside of Lake Charles in a little hole in the wall shithole town called DeRidder.
Okay.
To kind of give you an idea, DeRidder is an hour and a half from the Gulf of Mexico and about 3 hours from Houston. So it's not far over the border there. And it's definitely a much, much different world than anything I was ever used to.
So I spent just a little bit of time down in the Alexandria. There's another little town that is right next to that I don't remember.
Oh, I've actually been to Alexandria. That's a very nice little place right there. So
yeah, I was down there for Fort Polk.
Ah, yes, that's somewhere where we've joked about going because no one wants to go there. When Christine was able to get her duty stations lined up, we were joking about that just to be closer to the family. But nobody apparently wants to go there. So
really, why is that?
Swamp ass America, bro. I mean, no offense to anybody who lives in Louisiana, but the locals call Camp Swampy for a reason, apparently.
So I remember there, and we were. I think it was Jay. No, I don't remember. It was some operation, something training center. That was there. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember, but we went there like once a year for like a month, or maybe it was every couple. Yeah, it had to be once a year for a month, and you'd have this little time not in the field, then you'd go do like 3 weeks in the field. And I remember being in the field and like in foxholes and stuff, and there'd be these wild horses that would just come through. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, come on, cut it out. We're playing war here,
Yeah, right. Do you remember what time of year you were down there?
I am gonna guess It was either spring or fall. It was not the hottest of the summer, and it
Okay.
was not winter. Yeah.
Yeah, because where my mom and my stepfather live, they like to barbecue on Christmas Day. If that's any indication.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah, so that's the type of weather they get down there. Now I just talked to my mom this morning. It was 28 degrees down there, much like it is here in North Carolina now. So as whack as that feels, I mean, and they're normally sweating down there. Every time I've been down there, it's been warm, unseasonably warm, I guess I must say. The first time I took my wife down there was right before we got married, and we were walking through the Christmas setup, and I was in a hoodie and shorts. It was like December 3rd, and here I am in a hoodie and shorts standing in Louisiana. So
Yeah, we've had uncharacteristically cold weather here for probably 3 weeks, I would say. And there's been a couple days where we've gotten close back to the 70s, but not quite. So it's been a rough for a few weeks for us. And
yeah.
And I mean, even now it's in the 60s, but man, I cannot get, my feet are freezing.
Yeah,
not a big fan of the cold weather.
Well, the cold in North Carolina, because I spent 30 years of my life in Pennsylvania, and before that, when my father was in the military, he was stationed in Alaska. So he goes, "This is all amateur hour," but no, the cold up north feels different than the cold once you cross that Mason-Dixon line. It's kind of weird. Like 40 degrees here feels a lot different than 40 degrees the further north you go. It's like that's bearable. Down here, it's like I need like 3 layers.
Yeah, yeah. That's us. I mean, I feel like I don't want to say wuss, but like soft. When I'm like complaining about it being cold and it's in the 60s.
Nah. Hey, I mean, I'll take 60-degree weather anytime, but I can understand where you're used to in the area that you live in. I can see where that would be a problem.
Yeah, and in the summer, when you walk out May through September, you just immediately are sweating. It's just 100% humidity. I mean, just yeah.
I mean, stupid comfortable weather in December, though. My wife and I went on our honeymoon a couple years ago to Disney, and we're on Splash Mountain in like 70 degrees, and it's mid-December, so I can appreciate that.
Well, that's one thing that's crazy about Florida is you book a trip, and it could be 70 degrees, or it could be in the 40s, as it was last week when we took the kids. We took the kids to Universal for Saturday and Sunday. And one day was Sunday was colder, and it was going to get up to 54. So we started out at like 44.
Well, you remember at FanFest, the one day, like the Thursday when I rolled in, it was super nice the one day, and then Saturday is like, I'm glad I brought long sleeves and pants just in case, because it's like, holy shit, what happened?
Yeah. We'll get a front roll in, and it completely changes. I mean, you go from so quick. Yeah, I mean, the coast of North Carolina is very similar. Is that the weather changes so quickly on the coast of North Carolina too?
Yep. Yeah, and even inland here where I'm at, because I'm right outside Fayetteville, that it's a lot like that, and it's like literally it went from 70 degrees one day to 40 and rainy and cold and miserable the next. So I mean, and my sinuses are like, hey buddy, screw you. You're not used to this. You're not going to be. So, that's one thing I'm going to miss about North Carolina is the constant weather pattern change. It's a good thing, my shorts and my jeans are right next to each other. So.
Yeah, I for the first year I hardly wore jeans, and this year I've worn them, probably a good month. I mean it's kind of crazy, that just how the weather's just impacted me and how it's changed. I don't want to say it's the climate, but you know what I mean. Like it's affected me more now, where before I would go went the whole year without wearing pants.
Yeah.
But now it's like I sat in the house here, and it's just been so cold for so long that it's just annoying and getting unbearable.
No, I can understand. I've been proactive. Christine's next duty station may be up near the Canadian border up in New York. So I've been proactive buying a lot of winter gear just in case. Coats and long sleeves and jeans and sweatpants and you name it, layers upon layers.
Yeah, we went to Las Vegas in December, the week before Christmas, and I didn't even have a winter coat to wear. So Jenna bought me 2, and I'm so thankful because it was chilly out there. But that prepared me because when we came back, it was here.
Isn't it nice to know that when you marry up, those women are always going to take care of you? Because I run into the same thing.
Bro, I wish I'd known it. I mean, seriously, I really, really, really wish I had known that the marriage that I have now was possible, because I fought getting married for so long because I did not want to settle and be in something that just made me miserable. And I had no idea that a woman like what I have exists. And and I told my son, who's 15 and kind of starting to date, I'm like, look, bud, when you're dating a good one, I'll tell you, because good ones are hard to find.
Yep.
The ones that make you happy, the ones that care about you, the ones that care about how you feel, what you want to do, and I every time I talk about Jenna, I put her over big time, and I tell her all the time, because I'm so thankful that, it took me 44 years to get her, well, you could take off 14 of those, so 30 years of the time that I was dating to get a woman like Jenna who is smart, who I could say, like, she was just right before I called you, she's texting, asking me if I were get like a salad in a bowl from Subway, and she's asking what I want. And I said, "Can you just pick it, please?" And she's like, "Absolutely." And she can handle it. She can book a vacation. She can, do these things. And man, I wish I had. I found her, sooner. I mean, it was the right time for both of us, but.
And that's what it is, man. I mean, mine was the same way. I mean, I met her right before I turned 30. So literally when, everything was meant to happen, everything timed right for a reason, and now, there's a lot of time that I forget what life was like before her because I'm so happy with her.
Yeah. Your story is really cool because you met her doing something that you both love. You mind telling the story?
Sure. I mean, this story never gets old. So, Philadelphia Comic-Con, and so there was a sci-fi speed dating gig that I decided to go to. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's something to do. Why not? Me being the type of person that I am, I'm like, let's just see what happens. And I walk in and sit down, and there's this beautiful Red Skull. Now, those two words should never go hand in hand for many, many reasons. And I remember beautiful blonde hair, the short skirt with these red leggings. And one of the most shallow, incredible thoughts crossed my mind was, damn, Red Skull's got some great legs on her. I walk over and sit down, and here she knew me because we both went to the same undergrad together. I was actually working there. She was getting ready to graduate that week. And, we just hit it off, started talking. Next thing you know, we're a thing.
Wow.
So, I mean, long and short of it is, I'm saving the rest when I write my autobiography because there's a much longer, drawn out story I can tell. But, and then, I mean, it just happened, right place, right time, everything, everything happens for a reason.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, case in point, let's talk about how you and I officially met at FanFest. I remember was because I'd heard a lot about you from Barry, mentioning that you guys were close and everything like that, and you guys were in Florida and how wonderful you and your wife were. So then that Saturday night at Glory Days, I was like, where'd Dad disappear off to? And Travis goes, I kind of stuck Mac off to the corner with Frankie and Jana. I said, oh, And I'm like, I don't think I've met them yet. So I wander over, and the three of you are having a great old time. And I'm like, all right. And I'm like, all right, hey, that's awesome, So went about my business, and he put over the time he had with you guys like massively. Like he loved that like a lot. So
yeah. For some reason, one of the things I love about the Fan Fest is that, and we're talking about the CWF Legends Fan Fest that happens. I think it's about every June and November in Lutz, Florida. You can find more about it if you go to the Facebook page CWF Legends Fan Fest. But the thing I love about it is that you meet these folks that are in the group, that you meet them face to face, as opposed to, they might have a profile picture of a cat. You meet the real person, right? So it's like your dad. I had pictured a young guy. I did not picture, an older guy that had been in the military. I none of that, right? So you get the whole story. Then you sit there, and there's so much more to people, So, and that meeting everyone there and the conversations is really, as we're driving home, what sparked Jen and I to come up with the idea to get another person there,
which is fantastic. And it's cool because, as I'm sure you probably know, like, you see these people, you hear these names, you have conversations with them, you finally get together in person, and it's like you're talking with old friends.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, out in Las Vegas, so I stopped telling the story, but I'm gonna tell it again. So we got out to Las Vegas, and we got there late. It was 12, 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and we asked someone at the hotel. We stay at the Mirage. Hey, is there a place to get something to eat? Like, oh yeah, go to I think it was called the Snack Shack or something similar to that. Yeah, go there, and they're only open for like another 30 minutes. You gotta get there. So we go there, and I get a burger was $15.
I believe it.
And the chicken sandwich was $13. I wanted a burger, but I got the chicken sandwich because it's like, man, I'm not paying $15 for no burger, unless it's like, it's got to be a really good burger, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and I was so mad that, it was a $15 burger, and it was mediocre, at best. And I was so upset at that. We'd stayed before at the MGM Grand, and they have a little food court there, so you can get things that are a little more affordable, but it's still, quick service, just like the Snack Shack was. You place your order, they'll call number 82, and you go and you get it. So the same thing, but it was a little more affordable. I could pay $6 for a piece of pizza or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was upset at that, and then I talked to Roman Gomez, and he took us one night to Ellis Island, which was not far from the Strip at all. We could have taken the train and then walked, but we took a cab, and it was like $6 or $7. And but the food was amazing. Jenna and I shared a plate, but we got chicken and ribs, 2 pieces of corn, baked beans, coleslaw, a couple rolls. It was amazing, and it was $16. So I get this mediocre burger for $15, or I could go on a little bit of a cab ride, and for $16 get this amazing meal. And we even brought some home. So we shared a plate and brought some home, and so it was good to sit there, going back to the brothership, to sit and talk to Roman, who I've listened to the Mid-Atlantic podcast, but it was so good to sit there in person and actually talk and get to know him, and tell stories. And then the other thing that was also really cool is I went and had lunch the next day with Brandon Rice, his wife, and his 2 kids.
Nice.
And that was really special to me because, I'm a relatively new dad. I've been here 3 years, and they were 10 and 12 when I got them. And, they also have another father they live with half the time. But, to see him and his wife's interactions with the kids, and I mean, it was very special to me, and we went to this place, I think it was called the Taco Stand, and it was probably the best meal we had in Las Vegas. I've never been a fan of churros. The churros were off the chain. And I mean, all the food at that place was awesome, and it was so great. And then the experience of just spending time with Brandon Rice, who hopefully will be at a fan fest soon, was just amazing. And his kids, to see his, I think his little boy's like 5, and just had all this energy and just was all over the place and still funny and interactive. And then his daughter, who was so sweet and well spoken, man, it was so cool. And then when we left, both kids gave me a hug, and man, I'm so thankful, for that time of being able to meet him and spend time with him, not just him, but him and his family,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, so when I decided to bring my dad down, he was a little hesitant. I said, Dad, I think you'll get along great, because he had been in the brothership for a little while. And I said, we'll take you down. I said, you're gonna have a blast with these guys. So we met up with some of them. He had already met Travis Raines already. He had met Barry. So he knew some of the people going in. Him and Barry are actually pretty good friends now. I think everybody's good friends with Barry, but so we went down Thursday, and I actually detoured Thursday night to go see friends of ours play at the Hard Rock in Tampa, about an hour away. So I looked at Michael Herrick. I said, make sure Mac has a good time. He goes, don't worry. He goes, I got you. So Thursday night I come back. It's about midnight or so by the time I rolled back in. Everybody's sitting down there in the lobby, and I come over, sit down, and 3 different people came up to me and said, dude, we're having a blast hanging out with your dad. He seems like he's having a really good time. And first time he had met like Benji, and I think it was Michael Herrick and Jamie Ward, all individually came up to me and said, dude, we're having such a blast with your dad. Thank you for bringing him down. He's a riot. I'm like, it's perfect. It was like a match made in heaven. I mean, I knew he was going to go on great with everybody. But for everybody to come up to me individually and say, thanks for, bringing them down with you. It's great to see you. But, he's, he's like really over with the crowd.
Yeah.
That really warmed my heart.
Yeah. It is really cool to see a father and a son there, and, the interactions, that everybody has. And, those are memories that, you'll remember for a while, and I was talking to Kerry Silken yesterday, and I had told him, I think it may have been off air, but I said, I think the podcasts are important because, or just being able to have people on podcasts, and for instance, the brothership, because you one day you're going to want to look at videos of your dad. Well, it's like, I don't have any videos of my dad, or my dad didn't have any videos of him, or recordings of them talking and telling about whatever. So, the joke of the weekend there was Chris Zahab, telling everyone, hey, he was a co-host on Stick to Wrestling and he deserves to be seated right away, and all that good stuff. Right. But the truth is that his kids can have that podcast and listen to him talk about wrestling for the rest of their lives. They can play it for their kids. Their kids can play it for their kids. And if 200 years, if someone's doing a genealogy research and they see they were related to him, they could do a Google search and they'll find that podcast somewhere on the internet and go like, oh my gosh, here's my great, 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 great granddad. And he was into this weird thing called wrestling,
You mean when Jimmy Valiant's still wrestling after we're all dead, right? But I mean, and it was cool because some of these people, Dad had watched most of these guys wrestle before I was even born, and I'm 36 years old. Like when we were talking about the Rock and Rolls, he goes, first time I ever saw them wrestle, you weren't even gleaming your mom's eye yet. It was like,
wow.
83, 84 years old. Yeah, 83, 84, I guess I should say, and Bugsy McGraw. I mean, he watched Bugsy for years before I was even, and it's cool for me because I get to listen. Like, one of the best experiences I had from the weekend was I I was helping drive some talent back and forth. I got to drive Len Denton around and spend some time with him. Just talk about like a grandfather type figure that I could have sat there and listened to all the time. He was telling me stories about him and Piper, and because Hot Rod's an all-time favorite of mine, and just some of the stuff. And it was just cool because I said, "Sir," I said, "you were doing a lot before I was even born." He goes, "Man," he goes, "that doesn't matter." He goes, "The fact that people like you carry on the legacy is cool." He goes, "To me, that's important. That younger folks get it." And so a quick story I can tell about, my dad and I sharing things. And this is actually relevant because Meatloaf just passed away last week. God rest his soul. When I was 11 years old, I was a weird kid. I'm a weird adult, but that's neither here nor there. I wanted to go see Meatloaf in concert. He was playing in Hershey. And my dad goes, "Okay, you're 11 years old. You're probably the youngest person there, but all right, fine, whatever." Because I was a big fan of Meatloaf's music. I still am. We actually have a signed copy of Bat Out of Hell on vinyl hanging on our wall when we got to meet him in person.
Wow.
Oh, phenomenal. Just the kindest man. You're one of the kindest people you're ever going to meet. I can't say enough about how great he was just to sit there and talk to. He could talk your ear off all day long. So here I am, 11 years old. Meatloaf does his first 2 songs. I'm like, what the hell? I'm definitely the youngest person there at the show. And he comes out and he does his first 2 songs. And if you have to bleep the profanity, go right ahead. But he comes out and he goes, "Hershey, how the fuck you doing?" My dad goes, "Oh my God." So the concert goes on. I don't remember too much about the concert itself. Then you get to Paradise by the Dashboard Light, which closed the main set. And his lead singer, who was a very attractive woman, I've seen videos of this tour. She was a very attractive woman, comes out and he stops in the middle of the song. He goes, "Why are you dressed like a whore?" My dad goes, "We're done." He goes, "That's it." For years, he called it one of the worst parenting mistakes he ever made. He goes, "Okay," he goes, "we're definitely done here." So for years, he called it one of the worst parenting mistakes he's ever made. I'm sure there's probably been some since that was 25 years ago, but I'm sure if you ask him, I'm sure there's probably been a few somewhere in between there.
Yeah, I'll have to get him on.
We were just talking about that this morning. He's like, he goes, "I should get on there." He goes, "You and I should both be on there together." I said, "Great." I said, "Frankie will have a 4-hour podcast by the time you and I are done."
Yeah, well, what's he doing? I'll call him.
Well, he's working right now, but we should definitely set something up for us all to do that because I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I don't know when you're dropping this, but it's Royal Rumble Eve today, technically.
It is.
It is, and it feels weird because I'm like, it's on a Saturday.
Yeah, that is odd.
What the hell? So what are your favorite Royal Rumble memories? Because this is one of my favorite matches all year, one of my favorite wrestling nights. Because and my wife even enjoys watching the Royal Rumble, so it's always a good time.
I'm really horrible at this sort of thing because I stopped watching wrestling in probably 90. Well, when I was in the military in 92, and so I stopped then, and I didn't start again until probably. Hang on just a second. I got a puppy whine again. Sorry, that kid is on his last leg. Recently I asked the vet, said, how much longer has he got? And they, she said, "You can't tell." I was like, "Look, can you make an educated guess?" And she said, "Well, I would say less than 2 years." Aww. So he just hasn't been real well the last couple of days. Like he's hobbling, standing weird. He fell off the bed the other night while in his sleep, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, I'm not a real good person to answer the question because I haven't watched wrestling since. Well, I stopped watching in 92 and I went to the military, and then I started watching a little bit like TNA 2008, 9. But then I really didn't watch it anymore until I got kids and we got the WWE Network. And so I'd watch the NXT. I was more interested in the indie guys that went to the NXT than I was the WWE shows. And then we went to some NXT live shows here. But I don't, and I'm not very good at recalling
Gotcha.
any particular moments. But what about you? What are your favorite Royal Rumble moments?
Oh my God. So recently, I will admit I'm not an Edge fan, but watching him come back, not last year, the year he won, the year he showed up as a surprise, and the look on his face because people were going nuts. He looked like he was ready to break character and start crying. Was cool.
Yep, I did see that.
Lesnar taking the Claymore, Drew McIntyre getting in the ring with Brock Lesnar, and Claymore kicking him out of the ring right away is pretty sweet. The one that sticks out in my mind that was a real holy shit moment was, it had to have been 16, and number 3 in that Rumble was AJ Styles. Because AJ's an all-time favorite of mine. So to see him come out, new entrance music, and Roman Reigns' face, I'm like, holy crap, AJ Styles is in a wrestling ring with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Flair going the distance in 92, Michaels winning the Rumbles constantly. The year that Vince McMahon blew both the squads coming out into the ring because they screwed up the ending of the Rumble. There's a lot of magical moments. I remember, and there are moments that you look back on now, it's like, damn, that was cool. Like, I forget what year it was. It was 5-6 years ago when Goldberg had just run through everybody in the ring, and all of a sudden the number dings, and all of a sudden the lights go out. The Undertaker is in the ring with Goldberg. And it's like, wow, it's like something you never really thought about. And there it is. And then they would proceed to go on to Saudi Arabia and have one of the worst matches ever. So you realize if you leave it at that, you're totally fine. It's just, it's stuff like that. And if they can capture the magic in that match, and the women's Rumbles, I mean, the women's Royal Rumbles are usually pretty fun. Bianca and Rhea Ripley had a real good exchange last year, I felt. They can definitely get there. I mean, I'm a big Becky Lynch fan, so Becky's obviously defending her title. But it's always good to see, some of the comebacks. Mickie James being the Rumbles, the ladies' Rumble is very exciting. So, I mean, it's cool because they have the chance to capture that moment and get into WrestleMania season, because no matter how jaded I am about the product, there is something special about WrestleMania. It's almost like Christmas in a way. No matter how crappy the product may be, you get, the Royal Rumble is kind of like, I guess maybe Thanksgiving, because you're on the road there to the finish line. And
you're right. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Like the Rumble's Thanksgiving, you're going to get a good meal, and it's like, okay, and then the anticipation begins building, and you get some roadblocks to get there because we all know how the holiday season gets. And then, it's like WrestleMania, and like WrestleMania is like Christmas, and there's always something magical about it. No matter how bad it may be, it's still WrestleMania. And it's, pretty special. Now, I mean, there for a couple of years, and I'm sure you understand, appreciate this, when they had the takeovers tonight for WrestleMania, that was like Christmas Eve.
Oh, absolutely. I love the NXT. I love the takeovers, and I would watch those. But it's hard with kids that aren't into wrestling to watch the a 3 or 4 hour pay-per-view, and they're at the end when we start watching, they would stretch that thing out like 5-6 hours.
Oh yeah, that's why I think it's the idea of a 2-night WrestleMania is fantastic, because there for a while stretching 7, 8, 9 hours, and Christina and I were talking about going in person. She goes, would you really want to sit there? I said, no, I'd be getting really restless and probably really drunk and broke because I probably pay $11 a beer.
So many problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of issues with that right there. So, I mean, and we had actively talked about it. She goes, I know it's on your bucket list of things you want to see, which, has kind of been pushed back now because, there's very few people on that roster interest me as it would be going to an AEW show and seeing Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Danhausen, those type of guys. Uh-huh. You told me like, hey, let's go see Double or Nothing or go see All In or, whatever the show may be. Count me in for that. But the want to actually go sit there and experience it as opposed to sitting here in my living room, being able to make whatever I want getting able to walk up and go away, not having to deal with sweaty, drunk-ass wrestling fans for, 8 hours in a stadium full of people, especially right now, is less appealing.
Man, we love the NXTs. So we would go to Largo at the Minreg Rec Center, and we love those. They were 300 people, but it was good action, good music, good sound quality, and they would be doing different little spots in the ring. They had the girls matches, the women's matches, and it was, we loved those and loved that experience of it. We never went to any of the WWE shows, and the last one that I saw one at the Crown in Fayetteville, and this is probably 2015. Bray Wyatt versus Kane was the main event, and I gotta tell you, that was pretty sad. I don't know how many people the Crown holds, but there was no one in the uppers. No one. It was all ringside.
So, the Crown's not very big to begin with, so I can only imagine, what it actually ended up feeling. It seemed like, because I drive by there a lot.
Yeah, well, you've got upper levels. I mean, but to have a larger building that's empty, for this WWE house show. I mean, it was for me. It was sad. I mean, I've been to indie shows with more people.
Yeah, I used to go to shows all the time, and the indie shows were always the best for me. Like I enjoy a good high, but I always enjoy the indie show. There's something magical about it. I'll tell you a story about those in a minute, but I remember going to see my wife's first WWE show was actually an NXT takeover. And this was January of 2018. It was the night before, because they were doing the double night in Philly. They did takeover, and then they did the Rumble the night afterwards. So the main event of that takeover was Andrade Almas versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT title.
Mm-hmm.
Been watching wrestling 36 years. It might be the second or third greatest match I've ever seen in person. And I'm looking over, and Christine's eyes are wide. She goes, Almas is really good looking. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, he's not a bad looking dude. I mean, but it's the first time she's ever expressed wow, he's a really handsome wrestler. Expressed that about a wrestler.
Right. Yeah.
All right. And I remember it was just back and forth, and it could have gone either way. And I was one of the pro Johnny Gargano crowd, but I wasn't even mad that he lost, because it was such a good match.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is in my mind putting both of those guys over, because they just put on an incredible match, is a rare thing. Nobody lost anything by doing that. I mean, the crowd was appreciative for both guys. And it's weird because sorry to cut you off. And it's weird because now when I'm thinking about it, the two main matches were Almas and Gargano for the NXT title, and then it was Aleister Black versus Adam Cole in a no-holds-barred match. 3 out of those 4 guys are now in AEW doing much better. Well, arguably much better for themselves.
Yeah, and rumored Johnny Gargano to join.
Yes. Yeah, and 3 out of those 4 guys are, probably happier in AEW because they're actually getting to wrestle and do things.
Yeah, but here's another important fact. They all worked, independents. Well, Andrade was Mexico, and that. So they all, none of those are homegrown, WWE.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Adam Cole too, I can tell on here. So Adam Cole graduated from Central PA. He used to live in Central PA because my uncle's best friend, who was one of the groomsmen in our wedding, actually taught him high school English. I think this was 10th or 11th grade. And there was a story being told about Adam Cole wanting to use super kicks during Julius Caesar. I kid you not, this is 100% legit. So he told me this story while I was getting to meet Adam Cole at a Ring of Honor show. This was years ago now. This is many moons ago. So I asked him, I got a chance. I said, this is going to sound really weird, but did you want to throw super kicks during Julius Caesar? He goes, yes, as a matter of fact, I did. I said, well, my uncle's best friend, who's practically my uncle. And he goes, tell him I said hello. And he told me the whole story in great detail. It was hilarious. So it's like, wow, that's a really small world. So it's good to see him on the nationwide stage doing great things. He's such a nice dude, but kayfabe that. The indie shows, and I know you and I have talked about the indie guys and everything like that. I have to put over a guy named Judd Lehman. I don't know if Judd's ever going to listen to this, but we're in 2022, 16 years ago, he would run charity shows. Him and a guy named Norm Connors would, who ran the International Wrestling Cartel out of Pittsburgh, got together in a little town called Newville and were running charity shows. Well, I missed the first couple of them, but Judd was my gateway to this independent promotion. I'd known who Chris Hero, CM Punk, I knew who these people were, but then Judd getting me into this provided me a gateway into some of the most interesting times of my life, including Samoa Joe and AJ Styles sleeping at my parents' house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were both booked and riding around with them, and where the show was about 45 minutes from the airport, they were both booked to go back to their various homes. I think Joe was going back to California. I think AJ was going home to Georgia, something like that. And my dad goes, I have a couple extra bedrooms. You just want to sleep in there? They're like, sure. Because my father lives 15 minutes from the airport they were flying out of, and they had like stupid early flights. So the bed that I used to sleep in, in the one room, AJ slept in. The other guest room was where Samoa Joe slept. So I can say that AJ Styles and Samoa Joe slept in my parents' house.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's it is pretty damn funny. Well, he apparently, from what I heard from, I forget which parent told me this. Apparently, Joe went upstairs and walked into their bedroom, started clearing all the stuffed animals and stuff off the bed, thinking that my parents' bedroom was theirs. And one of them had to go tell him, your room's actually over there. I'm like, you did what?
Oh man, and you missed it.
Yeah, we were driving. Joe and AJ were the same year. I was doing something else at that point. I think I went the other way because Dad's like, don't worry, I'll get him back to the airport in the morning. I'll wait till my dad comes on here to tell the Jake story. I don't know if he's told you the Jake story or not.
No.
The Jake Roberts story is something him and I have to tell together.
Man,
part of the.
Go ahead.
No, as part of his, he's a big part of the story because he was kind of the other side of the Jake Roberts tale. Which is a hilarious story.
Yeah, so. we when I hung out with your dad, we talked no wrestling. We just talked, family and relationships and love and,
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that the people I've introduced him to have kind of widened his social circle, I guess might be the best way to describe it. I mean, I'm glad he hit it off with you two as well as you guys did. I remember going back to the hotel. We're all kind of, feeling some kind of way. And, you guys coming outside and going, hey, we had a really good time with him. And, he's a really cool dude. And I'm like, hey, thanks for keeping him company,
Yeah. There at the end when it was Barry Rose and me and Jamie Ward and Jana, your dad and Jana and Barry were sitting there talking. And I'll wait till the story. When he comes on to tell the story, but that was a pretty hilarious moment. And I'm talking to Jamie Ward because I was so impressed. Like, Jamie Ward's known like Jeff and Barry, 30 years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's real cool, and and the fact that they're still going to wrestling conventions and whatever all together, I think is just. So neat that you have people in your lives that long that you still, associate with and that you still, still do this wrestling thing and fandom with, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I know that Comic-Cons and whatever weren't things 30 years ago or definitely not what they are now, but, I mean, you don't hear people who've met from different towns that stayed in touch because of their Star Wars fandom. And maybe I just don't listen to the Star Wars podcast, but, wrestling has this uh, had. I don't know that it's there anymore. Where these fans just from all, well, I think maybe it still does. From all over, would meet and correspond, and then meet in different towns and hang out. I mean, that's really something. I think that's special to wrestling. And me, I don't have a lot of friends from like my military days. 2 or 3 that I still talk to. No, probably closer to 5. But then, my college, there's a few there. But, here's these guys, and there's, a ton. I mean, if you ask them, I mean, like, I think it's so cool that Barry and Howard lived in the same condos and, Miami Beach when they were kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fascinating. That's kind of, fascinating to me,
And I mean, so in true fashion, I mean, I was going to Star Trek conventions, comic book conventions for years before I ever attended my first wrestling convention. So, I mean, I was so used to like the camaraderie, but it's the people that and people come from all walks of life. Like between all these conventions, I've met so many different people from so many avenues, different walks, and I think that's amazing. Like, I think that something that kind of brings everybody together. Yeah, and I mean, you all may have different opinions on things. Like, you may come to me and say, Biker, I think the Star Wars prequels suck, but I loved Force Awakens. That's your opinion, but we're here for the exact same thing. And it's only if you're an asshole when you get into, oh, this is why mine's better. And it's not like a friendly debate. You all can sit there and laugh over a few drinks over it.
Yeah, right. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy that you have this love of the same thing with someone, but they want to pick a fight and make it, there has to be a winner and a loser?
My and my childhood best friend and I, we've been friends for, God, we're both 36, so 31 years. We used to get over to Trek and Star Wars all the fucking time together. And now we realize there's a mutual love. I mean, we'll still, go back and forth sometimes about it, and people are like, if they want to pick a fight. But I mean, it's almost like you have like this unifying theme, like, and you can all agree on something of your love of certain things, and then you find other love in other things. And it can happen like that in life too. Case in point, Christine and I, right after we moved down to North Carolina, we decided to take a random road trip to Asheville, which is about 3.5 hours west of us. Beautiful place. Like, it is. Asheville is one of my favorite places on the planet because there's beer, there's hiking trails, there's culture, there's all sorts of stuff. And I mean, it's amazing. It's breathtaking. We love it. We were actually joking about taking a road trip out there this weekend to go pick up beer. And so we went out.
Hold on a minute. Isn't that great that you have this woman that you love and you're intimate with, but she's also your best friend that you can go. I mean, it's like a buddy trip. Hey, let's go to Asheville and pick up some beer this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's hark back to what you said. You didn't think this person was possible. I didn't think Christine was possible until I met Christine. And we realized we were so much alike, and there was enough there different to keep things interesting, and there still is. I mean, we've been married a little over 3 years now, and you're still finding out different reasons every single day. Like, okay, so let's pop back to Breaking Kayfabe this past week, where they talked about vampire movies. This is a story because I could tell stories for hours about this woman, but there's one in particular because it brought back the podcast this week. So the movie From Dusk Till Dawn, you've seen it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I was going to say, if you haven't, what the hell's wrong with you? So the scene with Cheech standing outside the titty twister, I knew it was coming, and I said, "Oh my God, this is either going to make the relate." I said, "I think we were still engaged at this point." And I made her watch this movie. I said, "This is a fantastic film, and it is an awesome piece of filmmaking." And so when you get to the scene with Cheech outside the titty twister, I look at her, I go, and I said, "This is either make or break the relationship right here. I can't wait to see her reaction." And he starts going off, and I look over, and she is howling at this. I'm like, I'm spending the rest of my life with the right person. And I'm like, because there were women, and I can understand, would be appalled by that conduct. She goes, Cheech Marin's standing there, and he just said the P word like 10 times in a row in like 2 minutes. And so then when Salma does her thing, I look over and she goes, that was really impressive. I'm like, jackpot. And that's what I always think of when I think of From Dusk Till Dawn, is watching the movie. I'd seen it like 3 or 4 times before I watched it with her, is watching it with her and her having those reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's magic, and you find that magic. And, you know, I wish that for almost everybody. So we drive out to Asheville completely on a whim. We packed our bags, fed the cat, went out there completely on a whim. We're sitting at this brewery. It's called Burial Brewing. And this particular brewery has this Tom Selleck, like, love, this, you know, this affection for Tom Selleck, which is totally fine by me. Tom Selleck's cool as hell. We were like, what's, you know, there were pictures of him hanging up everywhere. So we're like, just out of curiosity, what's the fascination with Tom Selleck? Oh, we thought he was cool. Okay. You know, Tom Selleck is cool. And on the side of the brewery, they have a giant mural of Tom Selleck and Sloth from the Goonies. Like, buddy, hand in hand. Somebody drew a mural of this on this wall of this brewery.
Wow. So
we're just sitting outside and we're having some beers, and we happen to hear these people talking behind us. And I forget what they were talking about. I don't even remember. And we just happened to hear it and chimed into the conversation. Next thing you know, we're just sitting around talking, having beers together. And we didn't know these people. These people were sitting there with 2 other people who they had just met doing the same thing. So the 6 of us are just sitting around talking. And we're like, what do you guys want to do? And it became, we walked with these people the rest of the night. And Asheville has got such a concentration of breweries in the area. You can do a pub crawl within 6 blocks and go to like 10 different places. And it's all different. So that's exactly what we did. We went, and with these people we had just met. And, you know, we drank a lot of beer. They ended up going, the band Steel Panther was playing. They all tickets to go see Steel Panther. I think that might have been how they all got to talking, was they were going to see Steel Panther later that night. But we just spent so much time just hanging with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beer that brought us together. And we still have a group text thread 3 years later, almost 3 years later. And it was just a random uniting thread. But then you realize you have so much more in common with these people. And, you know, I mean, we haven't seen each other. I mean, obviously 2 are married, 2 are best friends, and then Christine and I, but we have all not seen each other, but we're still keeping this text thread going.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I think it's cool when you get to connect with people and these kind of things, you know, or you find a random thread and then you find you have more connected. It's always something that's fascinating to me. As I said, you know, you have people with differing opinions on various things, but when you have such a wide open topic, like, you know, you're going to say that Shawn Michaels is better than Bret Hart, which he is, but that's neither here nor there. But you can find yourself united on different things. You know, and to me, that's why I always enjoy going to these conventions of different interests and things. And everybody and their brother has a convention. You have Quilter, you have QuiltCon, you have, you know, you have all sorts of stuff. And I always think it's cool that stuff brings people together. It's almost like a concert that you spend a whole weekend at sometimes. And to me, that's cool shit.
Yeah. That's a really interesting way of describing it. I mean, it's, you know, for me, that whole CWF Legends Fan Fest was great with the Legends. But, man, those conversations that you have in between it are, I don't want to say life-changing, but they're right up there, you know, like they are, you know, very cool and, you know, not your norm, you know, they're I mean, the things that, you know, the Chris Zahab just being him and hilarious, and Michael Herrick and Travis Raines and Howard Baum and all these characters just flowing in and out of this space, just hilarious, memory making, and I was really, really glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you sit there, you're in the lobby at 2 o'clock in the morning of this hotel, and you're not even talking about wrestling. You're talking about, Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin or, Public Sandwiches, or just whatever, something. And
Yes.
to me, that's amazing. That you start on one end, you start on first base, and somehow you end up all the way out in the left field, but you're still on the same page. And it's just cool because so many different people from walks of life. I mean, look, you have Howard Baum, who's probably got stories for days. He still owes me a Magnificent One impersonation, and I owe him a few rum and cokes. And, Jamie Ward, who's a mailman. You have me, who's a restaurant manager. You have Travis, who's a mechanic. You have Zaha, who takes 60 weeks of vacation a year. And all these people are doing all these cool things. And to me, and it's cool because everybody's there. You don't have a bad apple in the bunch. Everybody hangs out with everybody. Speaking of hanging out with people, the wife just came home. Hello, beautiful. So, for me, that's part of the draw is, the Fan Fest itself. That part of Saturday is awesome, but it's Friday night. It's Saturday. And I guess I should say it right now. There's a chance I might not be able to attend part of the festivities this year.
Oh, no.
As we found out last night. Well, yeah, I'm going to drop it right here. All the important people have known, but I'm going to put it out right here. My incredible, beautiful wife completes her 3 years of residency, and her graduation date is Friday, June 3rd. Not yet officially confirmed, so there's a chance that it may not happen. But she's already told me, and this is why she's awesome, if you have a chance to do both, do both. She's already given me official confirmation. If she graduates in the morning, Dad and I can get in the car and drive to Tampa as soon as humanly possible. And Matt goes, okay. He goes, but we're still going to be there for the important part. Yes, absolutely. But, obviously, if it comes down to it, I got to be the good husband first.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. You can't miss that. That's so good of her to say, "Yay, do this and then go do that." I mean, it's not. Some people would take it and make it all about them. No, it's my special weekend. My special week, right? It's like she's like, "No, come to this and then go do your thing."
Yeah, well, because she knew how much this meant to me. Because I always come back and say about how good of a time I had. And she goes, I don't want to ruin that. I said, but, this is us kind of graduating it together. I said, this is a culmination of 3 years of you coming home angry, crying, pissed off, peed on, depending on what you're doing. Depending on everything. This is like the culmination for both of us because how proud of her I am for hitting, for doing all this and kicking as much ass as she has because that's exactly what she's done. You being in the military, you in the Army, right?
Yep.
I want to speak. Okay. So you understand this. The military breaks you down and builds you back up.
Yeah.
I watched her do this. Through and it even happens in medical residency. I've seen it happen to her. Like there were points where she'd come home and she would just be utterly defeated. And I'd have to feed her and give her a back rub and say, it's going to all be okay. It's going to all be okay. Well, I was right. It's all turned out okay. Not to pat myself on the back, but I just did. And so even in residency where people are like, oh, it only happens out in the field. No, it happens everywhere. And I've seen it happen. And to me, it's been watching her grow as a person has been exponentially exciting for me. It's made, my life difficult because her life's difficult at points. But it's also been, a joy to watch. So it's kind of like important for both of us to see that. But her knowing this has said, if there's a way you can do both, I want you to go do both. If you can escape down and get to Tampa, I want you to go to Tampa too to go see your friends. So there's a very distinct possibility. If it happens on Friday and happens early on Friday, we'll make it down late Friday night. We'll see everybody Saturday. That's my father and I's plan as of right now. But if not, obviously this has got to take precedence, and it sucks. But
does she not want to come?
So with her schedule being the way it is, there are certain rotations that she can get time away from the program for to go out of state, outside of her radius. This weekend would probably unfortunately fall on a rotation where she could not leave and go the distance because we had talked about it. As soon as Barry gave me the date for the one coming up, I called her and said, are you able to come down? Because, okay, they've met Papa Spiker. Now they want to meet Mrs. Spiker. People in the group have met Mrs. Spiker, and heard stories, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
seen photos. And unfortunately, she can't do that. But if there's another one in November when she's out of her residency and her time frees up a lot and the leave restrictions aren't as plenty, then she will be attending. Because this is the third time that this upcoming one, if I'm able to make it, she has been the one because of just the schedules and the way everything are. The first time I went down was we were actually blessed because it was Father's Day weekend. I went one way. She went back up north to our godson's baby shower, then up to see her family for Father's Day. And I went to Florida. We got drunk at the beer garden. I literally went back to the hotel room, got my overnight bag, went to the airport 3:00 in the morning, flew from Tampa to Charlotte to Harrisburg, got in Harrisburg at like 10 a.m. My dad and my stepmother picked me up. We went up to her folks' house about an hour away, had dinner, got to have Father's Day with both dads, and then we turned around and drove back to North Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first fan fest I ever attended. Was the weekend of Friday and Saturday. It was a lot of fun, and then turned around and rolled back all the way down. So it was an adventure in and upon itself. So, you know, I mean, we will see what happens. Like, I mean, obviously I'm going to do the thing first with her, but she's already said, you know, if it happens early enough, you can still make it. She goes, obviously I want you to go spend time with them too. So, I mean, trust me, if I could bring her along, I absolutely would.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we look forward to meeting her. If we don't meet her here, we'll do it in North Carolina. Well, we have just went an hour, and I've got a call to make with Ariel to record the opening and close for this week's show. When do you think we can get your dad on?
Well, let me make a few phone calls. He's currently snowed in right now, but I think we could probably make that happen. You know, I mean, if you want to do it later on or something like that, you know, I mean, let me reach out to him and see what we got. So,
yeah, I'm gonna shoot you a text with my Facebook message with my phone number because I don't always check the Facebook unless I know
gotcha.
that somebody's because people blow me up.
Yeah,
and we can see what's going on. I should have nothing going on this weekend. The kids go back to their dads.
Okay.
So I should have some time this weekend. If not today, the Queen works until about 5. Okay. So I should be free. I know Barry's going to call me at some point today, but other than that and recording with Ariel, I should be free.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, well, maybe let's shoot for tomorrow. I'm gonna call him. I got to talk to him about some stuff anyways today, and I'll mention it. And you know, maybe if we get the Skype on, we can even have Mrs. Spiker on too. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Present as well. You can have all 3 members of the Spiker family on in one podcast. How sweet would that be?
That'd cool. I can just sit back and kick my feet up. You guys can handle it. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. I want to get you back on by yourself. And again, because I mean, I feel like there's a lot that we didn't even talk about, and also get your dad on with you. So I got to hear this Jake story.
Awesome. Well, it sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on, and you know, we'll definitely be in touch. Yeah, just text me your phone number, and we'll get something set up for maybe tomorrow then. So
awesome. Sounds good, man. Thanks.
All right, brother. All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Later.
All right. So that was my interview with Chris Spiker, and I've got good news. Next week, we're not going to have a part 2 with Chris Spiker. We're going to have a part 2 with Chris Spiker, Max Spiker, and the best of the Spiker clan, Dr. Spiker, his wife.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I didn't know that was my cue to say something. So I was checking my phone for more Darwin awards. Okay. So, wow. I didn't know Chris Spiker was into autoerotic asphyxiation also. That's great. The more you know about these people, the less you want to hang out with them, or the more you want to hang out with them.
So the interesting part is we were talking about that on our last episode, right? And then Barry and Jeff brought it up on this week's episode of the Michael Hutchins. So I don't know. Maybe, I don't think it's Barry. Maybe somebody's listening to our podcast and feeding, our fearless leaders our material. because we were talking, and it got a pretty big pop amongst the boys, you know, or I said, hey, if your wiener's out, it was an accident.
Yeah. It's I listened to that too, and I popped in my head while I was at work. I was like, wow, and I was, you know what? I secretly hoped they were gonna give us a shout out, but they didn't. But it's okay because, you know, we're not at that level yet. We're not big time like they are. But it was great hearing about autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah.
Well, a topic that we just covered, yeah.
Yeah, we might just have to make that a segment each week. You know, this week in autoerotic asphyxiation.
First of all, I got to learn how to say asphyxiation properly or something, without fumbling it too much. But yeah, I mean, you know, each week we can actually try it on ourselves and see how it feels and report it to everybody in the brothership. How about that? No? Okay.
Dude, you know, if I put a belt around my neck while we're on the phone, you'd go tell my mom on me.
I mean, no, stop.
You just sold yourself out, man.
I know.
You'd snitch on my kink.
I don't like kink shaming, but if it's to save your life, then I would probably alert the proper authorities or something.
Yeah, that's when kink shaming's okay. You're like, dude, you could die.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I'd be cool if you did this, but just don't die doing it.
Well, thank you for another fun, exciting week. I can't wait to talk to you, you know, throughout the week and see some of your fun posts and the wonderful food that you post.
Well, when I have time to do it, I will. No, but thanks for having me over again.
You made it through another episode of not mentioning your girlfriend.
This is like the first time, actually. Right?
It is. You're right.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I gotta.
So you're probably going to be in the doghouse with her when she listens.
Probably. Yeah. I know. She's like, "Why didn't you mention me?" I'm like, no, don't hit me.
All right. And on that note, we are out of here. Everyone have a great week, and we'll see you back in the Brothership Facebook group.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.